This is the Little Rock Team Podcast presented by Staley Electric. I'm Patrick Newton, and today we are talking with Lis Shoshi, a native of Kosovo who played his final 2 seasons of college basketball with the Little Rock Trojans. We start from the very beginning with Lis, how he was introduced to basketball growing up in Kosovo, how he went about finding a home for himself when it came to playing college basketball at Howard Junior College, the biggest adjustments that he had to make to his game upon moving to the United States, his recruitment to Little Rock, the crazy off-the-rim three-pointer he knocked down late in the second half to keep Little Rock's season alive against Purdue, and the conversation he got to have with none other than former President Bill Clinton after the season ended. We also talk a bit with Lis about his professional career overseas after concluding with the Trojans. Let's go. Lis Shoshi, how are you?
Good, man. How are you? How you been?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you. I'm glad to have you on here.
Good to see you too. Good to be here.
People will never understand how much effort it took to get you to get on this this chat with me, man. You're a tough guy to pin down.
Yeah, let's leave that to the time difference.
7 hours apart. Thanks for doing this. And I mean, people may know this, but tell everybody where you are now.
Well, I'm right now in Kosovo. I'm playing here, and this is where I'm right now.
You're from Kosovo, grew up playing basketball in Kosovo. Let's start there. Like, what was it like for you growing up playing basketball in Kosovo? Like, what are the differences between basketball in Kosovo and the U.S.?
Well, like I started playing, like every kid, I guess, in the backyard with my friends, my brother, and that lasted for years. But I didn't really started as in team setting until later in my years. But like I got developed pretty much like playing with my older brother and my friends and in the backyard. That's how I got introduced to basketball.
Were you always the tallest kid?
Not really. I mean, I had growth spurts. I was tall as a kid, but then I'd say around 6th, 7th grade, I didn't grow for like a year or two, and like everybody caught up to me. And then in high school, I had like my growth spurts to 6'10", maybe 6'9", and then ended up being almost 7 feet, which you never put me in Little Rock. You'll be stolen an inch. I'll never forgive you, but it is what it is.
Was 6'11"? Is that what we listed you at?
Yeah, we were listed 6'11", but I was legit 7. Those days, I'm not shrunk now.
I got those heights from the coaches, so you have to take it up with Beard and Flanagan.
All right, yeah. Well, we'll see.
Growing up in Kosovo playing basketball, like I remember the big thing with you that everybody loved that, I mean, as far as I know, is a true story that you'd only played in like a handful of organized basketball games in your life before you came to the U.S. Like it was more of almost like a camp type setting from what I recall, like you telling me about, like rather than like you guys weren't playing a lot of organized basketball games at that age.
I mean, there was organized basketball here, but I just, for me, like, priority was to go to school and get good grades, and then whatever times left, I would be playing in the backyard. But I never really played in team setting up until I was like maybe 16, I guess, if I'm not wrong. And I played a few games and I had injuries, so in my knee, so I had to have a surgery. So then I stopped. So then I pretty much, basketball was just okay. Like I became 18, I was like, well, I guess this is where it stops for me. So then I just started, just playing like in a amateur league here. Well, I've played a few games, which was just to be in touch with basketball. It's not like I had a dream or anything. And then, out of nowhere, pretty much the recruitment to U.S. happened, and then we're still playing now, all these years later.
What is the recruitment to the U.S. like? Like you end up going to Howard Junior College. Like how do they spot you? How do you find them?
It was weird, like, because I played a few games here, and then I made a YouTube video of highlights, which, there was this guy who does this stuff that he was sending guys to U.S., and our family got in contact with him. Was like, okay, let's give it a shot, And then Howard recruited me, which I actually signed when Mark Adams was there. And I had no idea where I was going. Like, okay, going to the States to play basketball, I guess. And then, I had no idea what to expect in West Texas.
Yeah, so does that highlight tape still exist?
It does. It is somewhere on YouTube, which it's on my account somewhere, which is I can always see it, and I'm thankful how they recruited me because I don't think I would recruit myself off that video.
Are you, like, playing against other people, or are you
Yeah,
just, like, doing drills, or
it's playing against other people in the amateur league here in Kosovo. It's like I played maybe 3 games and had a hand camera of my dad's friend, and then we made like a 3-minute clip of me showcasing my abilities, I guess.
so did you commit like, did you actually commit to Mark Adams, or was he gone by the time you actually
I
committed?
I signed when he was I signed, I guess, under Mark Adams, but I never met him there. Like, I guess he after I signed, he went to Tech, I think, as a basketball ops there, and I never got to meet him as a coach at Howard.
And what was it like at Howard for you, going from playing, just a handful of organized games in your life to playing
Man, like,
junior college basketball?
if people been to West Texas, like, they know that that kind of part of the world is different. Like, it's only oil rigs and it's flat, and you don't see much of anything. So for me, it took me a few days to just realize, what am I doing here? And it was a culture shock. But for me, basketball wise, was very hard. But I was very fortunate to be the as like people of West Texas, they are very friendly and helpful, and they kind of embraced me, and I was like, but the beginning of basketball wise was hard for me. The running was I didn't know what running was.
I remember the conditioning. I remember your coach. What was your coach's
Hot
name?
Reigns, yeah, he pushed me so hard, but before that, like, you know, he kind of gave up on me on running. When we do all these drills and when you have to run and make time. Yeah, everybody on the team had to make time, but for me, yeah, whatever.
I remember I can't remember if it was you or Scott telling me that the conditioning piece was a huge adjustment for you, that you had never really experienced
I'm not
basketball
gonna
conditioning
lie.
before that.
I had no idea. Like, if I knew how like people run in college in US, I might never have made it there. It was super hard for me. Like that freshman year, and Coach Trains, he's a tough coach. Like, he out of the court is like a father figure, but on the court, man, he pushes you. So for me, it took me a while to realize that hey, I can do this. I can run like the other people.
And what was the level of competition like going from Kosovo to junior college?
It's totally different. I mean, like, as I said, like, I didn't play here much, so for me it was totally different basketball. Like, a lot of running, like, maybe basketball wise, like, basketball is the same everywhere at the end of the day, but like the conditioning part, the physicality part was totally different for me.
And culturally, you had a really good host family.
Yeah.
Sherry was your host mom. Everybody I think at UALR got to know her a little bit. What was it like? I guess just like being that far away from your family at that age.
Well, I didn't realize, I was like, it took me a while to figure out, I was homesick and all that, but, it was something that I decided to follow. And, at that time, it was, you had to sacrifice. But as you said, like Sherry and Lindsay and their family, Mark, and, now they're still like, they're my second family. We still keep in touch every year. They come here, we go there. So they've been so helpful. And I don't know if I could do it if they wouldn't embrace me. Now I'm stuck with them, they're stuck with me.
Yeah, y'all are still connected to this day. At what point does Little Rock enter the picture for you?
Like, for me, the recruiting process was weird for me because, we lose my sophomore year, we lose in the conference, in the regional championship. And then all my teammates, they got recruited, whatever. And for me, you know, I had like recruiting, but nothing crazy. And they had signed, everybody had signed, but knew me, I didn't even had any visits. So my recruiting, it started up late, and I had a few, like, let's say, high major visits. I went to visit Texas Tech and Washington State, which, Power Five conferences or whatever, but they never really offered me. So I was just, I didn't know what I was doing. And then Chris Beard calls uh, my assistant coach, Coach Rowe, Carter Rowe, and we're at the dorms, and he's like, "Hey, it's Chris Beard calling for you." Like, I'm like, "Hey, I have these schools. I just, whatever." And then, Coach Beard is persistent, so he gets me on the phone, and he tells me that this was even before he just got the job, but it wasn't official. So he told me, you know, I will be taking this job and whatever. And we played against, he was at Angelo State before Little Rock. So we had scrimmaged them. So that's where he knew me. And that's where I kind of knew him. So he started on that phone call, and shortly after we had a visit, and you know how recruiting goes.
Yeah, yeah. So it was Beard was the guy recruiting you. I'd always kind of wondered if it was Adams or if it was Berg. I mean, we had so many coaches with like those Texas connections.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it was Beard was the guy who reached out to you directly.
Yeah, the Beard reached out to me, and then the whole squad came out to fitness center in Big Spring, Texas. I'm like, holy cow! Like, I know Mark Adams from he kind of recruited me at Tech. But then we were playing scrimmage, not scrimmage, but just pickup basketball, like after the season, and like the whole gang shows up. Like, it was Coach Berg, it was Max, it was Coach Beard, it was Coach Adams, and I'm like, holy cow! Like, these people don't stop, huh?
What do you remember about their pitch to you? I mean, was it anything about style of play? Was it about Little Rock? What do you remember about what their sales pitch was to you to
he
come to UALR?
he like this first thing was like, you're my first recruit. Like, I won't like you're my first call, so that's how much I believe in your abilities and that you will be able to play right away. And his thing was to go to the tournament, like win the conference, go to the tournament. But I'm like, yeah, like everybody says that, like, they're supposed to say that. So, but that was their thing, was like, at first was like, okay, we're gonna recruit you, you're gonna play right away, and like we're gonna go to the NCAA tournament. I'm like, yeah, like Little Rock, the NCAA tournament, maybe not, but they like believe that like from the first moment.
Is it true that on your recruiting visit that you asked about something to do with Bill Clinton in Little Rock?
Yeah, like I saw, like, when I decided to visit Little Rock, I saw, like, did a little bit of research, and I saw that President Clinton was from there, and all the airport and all that. So, I just told him, like, the connection of President Clinton and Kosovo, and how weird it was that he was, he was a governor there and all that. So that's how we kind of started this connection.
And for people who don't know, explain, briefly to the best you can, like, what is President Clinton's connection to
Well, like,
Kosovo?
shortly, like, I guess there was a war in Kosovo, like, in the 90s, at the end from like 98 until 99. And like, pretty much President Clinton ordered like the NATO strikes to like kind of end up that war and kind of give us the freedom that we have today.
And am I remembering right that there's maybe a statue of Clinton
Yeah, yeah.
somewhere in
Yeah,
Kosovo?
like, I showed him on my visit. I told him that he has a statue in Pristina. Like, every city has a road named after him, but there was like the statue that he was present here when that statue was unveiled. So I think I told him that.
Yeah, we'll talk more about your encounter with him a little bit later. But yeah, so you come in, you're interested in the staff, you've got the Clinton connection.
Yeah.
What do you remember about kind of meeting your teammates for the first time? And like, at what point did you think, or did you think early on that this was going to be a good team?
Like, are you talking about the recruiting or after I
Like after you sign and you get
Oh,
to Little Rock and you
okay.
start to meet
I
your teammates.
signed, and I guess I went back home, and then I traveled. It was beginning of the summer, and we go there, and like, I see the teammates from last year. They had a few. It was a few returners and all good players, but they were a little bit down, like they didn't have a good season. So, they were trying to show us the ropes, and like you could see that we had talent, but I never really, honestly, at the beginning, Coach Peter was every time, we're going to the tournament, we're going to the conference. I'm like, everybody was like, but they really believed that. So I saw that we have a lot of talent, but honestly, like I don't think anybody thought it would be that good, like at the beginning at least.
At what point, whether it was preseason or kind of early actually in the season, like, was there a moment where you thought, "Oh, this team is good"?
I think for me, like when I knew we had a chance to be good, it was when we beat DePaul on the road in Chicago. That's when I was like, okay, like maybe Coach Beat is like maybe he's right because his thing was, we're the best team in the conference. We're gonna win the tournament, and for me that's where I started to believe like, okay, maybe we can really do this.
Yeah, you guys have those big non-conference wins. You have
Yeah,
San Diego State, you have Tulsa, you have DePaul,
yeah,
and then kinda once you get into conference play, I think our first conference home game was against ULL. They were the preseason pick to win the league.
they were the
You have a nice game, 12 points at home. You actually played well against ULL in general,
yeah,
like, and they had a really good player that you went up against, Sean
yeah.
Long.
I,
What do you remember about those matchups?
yeah, I remember Coach Beard was before that game, like when they were doing the scouting, like the week build up, they were like, I think they were picked to win the league uh, preseason, I think, and they had preseason player of the year. And
Mhm.
so he would just talk us like his meeting was all like pep talks, like every time, like going again, like, and he kind of made us believe that we can really do this. So we really prepared for them. And that's, I think, when we beat them, that's like everybody on our conference were like, okay, these guys might be serious.
Yeah, you guys beat them early in conference play. You beat ULM at home. You know, ULM ends up beating you guys in Monroe. Another really big conference win that year that you had a great game, 11 points, 16 rebounds on the road at Georgia State. They had won the league the year before.
Yeah.
They were picked. I don't remember their exact spot in the preseason poll, but they were one of the better teams,
Yeah.
expected to be one of the better teams. What do you remember about going up against Georgia State in Atlanta?
Yeah, I remember like Coach Beer showing us how they were a year before they were in a conference, the NCAA tournament, and I think they had a big win. And he was like, "These are the champs. We have to, kind of take control. If you want to become a champ, you have to beat them." So he really like made us believe that this is like the biggest game ever. Like we have to. So we went out there and we kind of like beat them fair and square, if I remember right.
Yeah, you guys were down maybe like 9 at halftime, ended up you guys had a lot of second half comebacks that year, ended up coming back with a big run in the second half. Like, that was something that I think that game, I guess, had a couple big markers that for you guys that year. You won on the road. You guys had a lot of true road wins that year. I think 12 true road wins. And then I wanna say 7 games where I can't remember if that was a double-digit comeback, but I think we had 7 double-digit comebacks on the season. I think just in general, that was such a resilient team, to win on the road like that. A lot of teams can win at home. Um, a lot of teams can win at home. It's tough to win on the road. It's really tough to win on the road whenever you're down, like you were at Georgia State, down 9 in the first half.
Yeah, our stuff was defense. Like I guess everybody knows that, but that's why we won all these games because like we gave so much. Like if our practice was, let's say, 2.5 hours long, like maybe like all 2 hours were focused on defense. Like all these kind of crazy drills of just they ran like we had this drill called kill drill, and it was a tough drill. Like we had 4 on 4, and each team had to like get 3 stops in a row. Before the other team comes. So, we started at the beginning of the year doing that. And it was kind of hard, but we got a hang of it. Like it started to become easier. So then Coach Adams, starts doing stuff like putting things out of the pocket, 4 on 4, full court, perfect defense. If somebody misses a box out, you go to 0. So they just tested us on defense. Like there was teams that would play that on that drill, be like 4 people on defense for like 40 minutes, an hour of one. It's just straight up defense. So I think that's why we're able to win games because we pride ourselves on defense, and that's something you can always rely on.
Yeah, defense travels, as they say. You guys were second in the nation, I
Yeah.
believe, that season in scoring defense. And then by the end of the year, you guys were a really good offensive team too. Early in that season, you guys were never a bad offensive team, but played at a slower pace, won a lot of low scoring games early in the season. But by the end of the year, you scored, I think it was either 86 or 89 points against Arkansas State in that very last home game of the season. You guys had your offensive efficiency over the last, 10, 12 games of the season was basically even with your defensive efficiency in terms of the national rankings. And just like over the course of that year, you were a guy that really improved, offensively. By the end of the year, you were stepping out and hitting threes. You made a couple
Yeah.
against Arkansas State in that last home game. Of course, you made the one against Purdue. But like, what do you remember about y'all's kind of offensive improvement that year?
Like it was, I remember it was called, I guess, 300 Club or whatever. Like it started in the summer, like people shooting. So Coach Beard, the coaching staff made it like everybody that, if wants to shoot has to practice shots. So we kind of, all of us kind of took pride on that. So we had our practice, our individual coach where we practiced with him. Mine was Max. So and after that, everybody was coming to shoot on their own. Like everybody had like a time during the evening after practice was during the day. So in the evening time, everybody had kind of separate times. We would just go out there and shoot. So my time was like at 10 p.m. So I would be there every night shooting, regardless of, I never thought like, okay, I'm just, putting the work in like everybody else. And that, kind of paid off at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember this sounds crazy, like, I can remember after home games, you guys going into the gym to
Yeah,
shoot after the games.
yeah, we became crazy. Like we just kept working. Like it became contagious though, and that's why we're so good.
Yeah, no, you guys were. By the end of the season, you were a really fun offensive team. Um, you guys, you get to the Sun Belt tournament, you beat Louisiana Lafayette in the semifinal game. You have Monroe in the championship game. Against ULL, like, it ended up being it was a close-ish game, like maybe a 5 to 7 point win over them. Like what do just kind of broadly speaking first, like what are your memories from
Well,
that Sun Belt tournament and maybe like the pressure going into it?
yeah, like so we were before ending the Sun Belt. I think we only had one loss before going to App State, which was our last game of the year. So we kind of knew that, if we beat App State, maybe we can get like a bye because we at that point we might have been like only three three total losses, I think, two or three. So we were like,
Yeah, you had 3 before the App State loss.
yes.
And yeah, before the App State loss, you guys had a chance to get an
Well,
at-large
like
bid.
we were getting like points to be ranked and all that, and then we go to App State and we just flunk it. Like we just make a horrible loss. So
What happened there, you think?
I don't know, man. Like it was just one of those games where it's just you get tested and you just don't make it. And maybe we thought it would be an easy win, or we were thinking ahead of for the tournament. I don't know, but and after that loss, like we had a week to prepare, and that week wasn't fun because Coach Beard made us know that we blew it. Like now we have to win it now. Like that's our only chance. So like we had to buy on the first round. So when we prepared for luck, we know pretty much they were like our biggest opponent because they had such nice players and coaching staff. And that game was like the gym was packed. Like it was played in New Orleans. Like maybe they probably had more fans than us because they were closer.
They definitely did. They always brought a lot of fans to one because of they were close
Yeah.
geography-wise, but also they just have a big fan base.
So like that game we knew that was like a final before the final. And like it was I think it was going tight up until the 2 minute mark or 3 minute mark where I remember I hit like a corner shot, like a short corner shot to make it either 3 or 5. I'm not sure. I kind of like to finish the game. So after that game, we were like, okay, now we're in the final. Now we can really see this.
You guys win that game. Then Monroe in the championship game. I've asked a lot of people about this.
Yeah.
I think everyone's kind of talked about Beard, breaking his hand at halftime. Like, what do you remember? First half of that game, you guys are in a tough spot. You're down 7 at halftime. You're having a tough time getting anything going offensively. What do you remember about kind of halftime, the speech, and kind of what the message was?
Well, halftime, Coach Beard broke his hand. He he hit the board and just got
Was it the kind of hit that when he did it, you were like, damn, he just broke his hand? Or were you surprised?
everybody knew, oh, he's in pain. But before that, I remember like it was Roger Woods that he was saying like, if we don't win this, like we're not playing at NIT, because we had like NIT as a regular season champs, so we had like a automatic bid. And I remember like before the game, it was like, oh, we're winning this. Like, so even after Coach B went crazy, I remember like I was saying like, we're not going to NIT, like we're winning this. And pretty much he won us that game. Like he went crazy on the second half. We kind of just, fed him the ball and he let him do his thing. And we ended up winning by 20, like I think. So, but he kind of like, he switched that game for us and, we were able to win it.
Yeah. You guys outscore them. I think it's either 42 or 43-17 after halftime. I mean, not a stretch to say like the best half of basketball you guys played all year, and that's saying something. You guys were a good team. You had a lot of really good stretches, but like to score 42 points, that's a very efficient number. And then to hold them to 17 points. ULM was a really good offensive team. They scored in the high 80s against you guys in Monroe. Like really, I mean, that was the first game that season where I think everybody on the staff kind of left being like, we're having trouble. We can't guard this team.
Yeah.
We're having issues guarding that team. And so to come out in the second half of that Sun Belt championship game and hold them to 17 points, huge accomplishment against a really good ULM team that honestly a lot of years was good enough to win the Sun Belt.
Yeah, for sure. They were like a mismatch for us. Even the game in Little Rock, we end up beating them by 1, I think. It was like a finger roll. Where
you had the crazy play at the end where they missed the layup.
Just missed the layup. And then, like they were tough for us. I think they were the toughest team, like on our conference. Toughest matchup for us, pretty much.
At Staley Electric, we don't mind getting our hands dirty. That's just who we are. What started in R.E. Staley's garage in 1951 has grown to a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week residential, commercial, and industrial electrical company. From changing out a ceiling fan in your home to building a school in your community, Staley Electric will deliver the electrical solutions you expect and deserve. Visit our website at StaleyElectric.com.
You get Purdue. We're still in the arena in New Orleans. We're all kind of in that little room. They have that like it's kind of off the court a little bit. We're watching the selection show. We get Purdue. What are you thinking? Do you know anything about Purdue at that point?
For me, honestly, for myself, like I don't know. I knew the NCAA tournament was big, but I didn't have no idea what I was getting myself. Like I'm talking about personally. And speaking of like Purdue as a team, they had 2 bigs. They were like a lot of like, NBA prospects. They had a guard who he was an NBA prospect. So they were like ranked. I don't remember what they were ranked, but they were a pretty good team. So we were like, oh, maybe not a good matchup for us.
Go back,
honestly.
Let's go. Something you just said. Like how. Did you watch the NCAA tournament growing up as a kid? Like, were you familiar with what a big deal it was?
Honestly, no. As a kid, no. I watched it when I was in junior college. That's where I started to see how big of a deal it is. But I never really knew how big it was until we went there and saw how crazy it was.
Yeah, and we'll kind of get to the tournament in a second. But just one more thing on that win over Purdue. At the end of the season like that, when you guys win the conference championship, like obviously you're excited. Is it also just kind of a weird kind of state of shock? I mean, no one at the start of that season, really no one thought you guys had that in you.
I don't think even Coach Beard had thought if we had any on us. Like, even though he said it from first day. But, it just ended up like we ended up being like a perfect match for each other as players, as a group. So it started to become a reality. And when it became a reality, like the coaching staff was nervous about the Purdue because they were like the biggest team in the country as like in terms of like their front court and their back court. So it was not a good matchup for us on paper. And I remember like we had a few days to prepare for them, and like the coaching staff, I don't think they slept any hour during those 4 or 5 days that we prepared. And I remember we had like all kinds of like defensive schemes. Like for offense, it wasn't an issue, but as in defense, like they were playing with two bigs. They were all 7-footers. They had three bigs. They had a Haas that was a 7'3" guy. So, like, we had any defense possible that is known to basketball, it was in our pocket for that game to win. And I think we used all of them during the game.
Yeah, I think you guys maybe even used something from whenever Beard was an assistant at Texas Tech, going back to
I'm telling you,
the way they defended.
anything, there was a defense we had it like doubling the post, tripling the post, sending baseline, dig, recover, zone, man, press. Anything. Like we had, I think, 10, 11 defensive schemes that we used during that game.
Was that normal, like, for you guys to go into a game with that many schemes?
Like we always stuck to our principles. Like we adjust to the opponent, but never like that much. Like that was, but we were all in. Like the coaching staff was all in because they knew how hard it is to win in NCAA tournament and how much it means to win.
So late in that game, you're down 15-ish, with 4 or 5 minutes to go. You start to make the comeback. Josh is hitting some shots. What are you as a player? I think you're on the court for the entirety of that last 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, for me, like okay, when they started like escaping, I was on the bench. Like when they became 12, 14, I'm like, I guess this is it. And then Josh starts going crazy and keeping us in the game, and like the crowd, like we were in Denver, so the crowd loves the underdog. So when we started like playing and hitting shots and like the energy on the roof, like they start going for us, and it's basketball and the game is never over. So then everybody started making plays, and then it was we almost got it, but then we lost it because it seemed impossible the last minute that we will win the game. But then they missed free throws, turned the ball over. We hit crazy threes. I hit a shot, and then Josh hits the step back. I'm like, gosh, this is impossible.
So your three, I was actually just trying to remember. So your three is at the end of regulation before Josh hits the game tying three.
It was a 4-point game, and Josh had his shot, and then he missed it, and the ball comes to me, and I'm like, okay, that's shot fake because he's gonna jump. I'm like, I would not make the 3 free throw. That's what I know. And just shoot it, and it's one of those weird shots that it just goes in and just fit. That's him, March Madness shot, pretty much.
Two things about that shot. The first is hits the front of the rim.
Yeah,
goes sky high.
Never happens. Like front of the rim, sky high. That never happens. The back of the rim, yes, but
The second part about that shot is your toe could not have been any closer to the line.
I had no idea. I remember they were asking me. I have no idea. I don't know.
Who's asking you, the refs or the coaches?
No, the coaches, because they didn't know what to do how to prepare for their last play if we're gonna be.
Because they did a review, right?
They did a review. I'm like, I don't know, man. No idea.
When you go back and watch it, it almost looks like on your pump fake.
Yeah.
If you would have taken the shot initially, it looks like your toe is clearly on the line there. And then it kind of looks like whenever you kind of reset, you slide your foot back just a little bit.
Just a half an inch, just enough so they couldn't. And it took them like 3-4 minutes to use all the camera angles to verify that it was a 3-point shot.
Yeah, yeah. No, it took a long time. And I'm trying to remember. I don't think I had any access to the replay in the arena, because I was sitting behind the bench. I don't think I could see it, so it's not like I had any indication of what the play or what the call was going to be. But obviously, it goes our way. Josh ends up
Yeah,
hitting the game tying shot at the end of regulation, and then from there, it's just kind of a sequence of wild plays. Josh has another, not quite a buzzer beater, but a game tying shot at the
yeah.
end of the first
He missed the
overtime.
free throw and he gets the ball full course, running off the backboard. I'm like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, he has that. That's the one who has the kind of weird, like, little
Yeah,
push shot, kind of moving to his left.
yeah.
And then the second overtime, the big shot was the one that Kimmy hit. That was the one that really put the game away.
But at the second overtime, like I didn't play at all. Like we went all small. Like Reese was playing the five, right? Like it was all a weird game, and like they had all these bigs. We went playing. Our tallest guy was like 6'5", and we just ended up winning that game.
Well, and part of that was, we were able to, when we went small with that small line, we were able to kind of take their bigs off the court
Yeah,
because they couldn't match up with us on the perimeter. That was something that I think Berg was kind of talking about whenever he and I discussed that game. But yeah, that was a great tactical choice late in the game by the coaching
yeah,
staff that ended up resulting in a win.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
After that game, the celebration, like, what do you remember about that?
I just remember just everybody going crazy, and we didn't know what to do. So the court was pretty like we start getting all like say to the fans that were there, and then we start getting off the court, and like the run from the court to the locker room was kind of long, so everybody just sprinting, and then when we got in, just going crazy. Like,
Yeah, that was whenever, do you remember Beard's,
I mean,
street dog speech?
yeah, of course, yeah, and
He said, what's he say? He's like, "All week we've kind of been pet store dogs,
with
we've
all
been."
the nice food and private jet and this and nice hotel and this, but with street dogs, man.
The street dogs came out those last 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
No, man, just an unbelievable game, fun celebration afterward. Obviously, you wish the Iowa State game would have gone y'all's way, but that was a really, really good Iowa State
oh
team.
yeah,
Um,
they were good.
yeah, a lot of NBA players. Like, what are your memories from that game, and maybe what gave you guys
I
trouble?
remember like the coaching staff, they prepared so much for the Purdue game that they only had like 24 hours. Like, okay, we play the day off and then we play again. And they tried their best, but they had Georges Niang, who was our like in contention for the Player of the Year at that time. He's still playing in the NBA. They had like four. I think they ended up having four NBA players on that starting five. So they just were so talented, and they played this spread offense where they had like a lob threat at a five and played four out. But they were like it was hard for us. But I think it wasn't it wasn't an easy win for them either. Like we hung in there until like the last few minutes. But I think they were the better team because they had so much talent.
Yeah, super talented team, as you said, number of NBA guys on there. Season's over. You guys get back to Little Rock. Um, at some point, I think it was that summer. That's whenever you have the opportunity to meet President Clinton.
Yeah, Coach Pete had already left. Like it was we were in our summer workouts. I was in the weight room. I remember we were lifting, and Coach Dad, Kevin Krass, he came in the locker room. He's like, "Hey, where's Liz?" I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "You want to meet the president?" I'm like, "Sure." When? He's like, "Now." Like, cool. And but I only had I was wearing sweats, and he's like, go home, wear something nice, and we're going." Because he took me to the apartments, put like jeans and like a Little Rock polo, and just went there. I'm like, yeah. And it was like surreal for me. Like, come on, put me the president.
Yeah, how much time did you get with President Clinton?
It was weird. Like we were in like the country club. That's where we went. I guess that's where he was playing with his buddies. So we went there, Secret Service, like everybody like standing, like who's like these guys, like what they want here. And then we like he introduced me who I was, and then we spent like a good 30-40 minutes, which was surreal. Yeah,
What are you guys talking about? Y'all talking about basketball?
about everything and anything. He had his buddies there, so he was explaining kind of to them like the connection of how he was involved, and then we went talking basketball. Thought he was talking about the Arkansas run that they had and all that, but it was like a good 30-40 minutes, which I didn't think I had nothing to say. Like, what am I gonna say to a prayer line? It was just I'm like, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I actually heard that later he was talking about you and meeting you with, I want to say it was like Tony Blair or somebody. You know, he was in Little Rock for, it was a public program with the Clinton School and Clinton Foundation. And I could have the name wrong of who he was talking with, but that someone recalled him specifically talking about the UALR basketball player that he'd met
Yeah,
from Kosovo.
yeah, it was weird, I guess, because it's such a small world. Like all these years back, like he's meeting somebody from a country he helped. I guess it was a weird frame too, as much as it was for me that I never really expected it, honestly.
Yeah. Do you still have that picture?
Oh yeah, I still and a few months later he sent me he sent me that picture like signed from him and sent me like a note card and all that. But it's in my home. It's the living room. That's where it's staying for the rest of my life.
Are people impressed when they see that?
Yeah, I mean of course they are, because you don't really get a chance to meet. But what's funny about that, it wasn't just a picture, because okay, anybody get a picture, but for me, like it was a full like conversation, like we've been knowing each other for years. That's what was so
Mhm.
special.
Yeah, yeah, it was an experience.
Yeah,
It
for sure.
wasn't just
That's what
it
I'll
wasn't just a
forget.
it wasn't just a photo op, it was a real experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and that next season, kinda wanted to talk with you about, something really cool that happened was, your dad coming
Yeah,
to Little Rock for senior night. Was that the first time he'd visited the US since you'd
yeah,
been in Kosovo?
that was his first time. But for for me, it was like my dad. He didn't really speak the language, and for him, he doesn't feel like comfortable like doing stuff on his own, like traveling to the U.S. for the first time on his own. I would never think that he would do that, because he doesn't feel comfortable doing stuff like that. That's why for me it was so weird seeing that.
And it was a total surprise. Am I remembering that right?
No, like nothing. Like my host family was, my American family was there, like walking me out. Okay, my Kosovo family's not here, but I have my American family. Cool, like this is just we're gonna get this done, and we're gonna play the game. Like this is over. But then when he showed up, I'm like, oh, really? But then I figure out it was all like all he was mic'd up and cameras following him. I'm like, but I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I was right behind him. I think I've got, like, a video on my phone, of
Well,
him
you were
walking
the
out of the tunnel.
mastermind. Yeah, that's yeah.
I wasn't the
You're to blame
mastermind,
for
but
that.
I was involved. It was a cool moment. You gotta admit that was a really cool thing.
Sure, but I never thought that he would make that trip for it. But for him, I think for him was even more than for me.
Yeah, you think he enjoyed it as
Yeah,
well?
for sure. Yeah, because for him, like to see, like he was always like a basketball fan and following me and all that, but to be like present in one of the games, I think it was very meaningful for him.
After the season ends, your senior season, 2017, do you go straight back to Kosovo?
Yeah, yeah. We go back, and then I started my professional career playing basketball. Actually started here in Kosovo, and then end up moving.
Where else have you played?
After that season in Kosovo, I went to play in Lithuania. Then a year after, I went to play in Israel, and then I had decided to play in Germany, which was a pretty good league, is still. But then I started having my injury, my injury in a row, which was resulted to have like 3 surgeries in I'll say less than 2 years, and then I've been playing like ever since then.
What was the injury?
Anything, anything you can imagine. Like it started being like a shoulder labrum tear, and then back surgery, and then an ACL surgery. This was all happening in a span of almost 2 years. which was really hard mentally. But, as Coach Beard says, 4-1. And that, tested me more mentally than anything.
How much longer do you want to play?
Well, a few more years, I guess. It's going right now. I'm still playing here in Kosovo. It's going okay as far as health-wise. So we'll see how much my body will tolerate it. But a few more years, and then because we're getting old.
Yeah. So I've been asking everybody just kind of a few kind of quick hitters before we finish the interview up. Who was the toughest team that you played against in the Sun Belt?
Sunbelt, I would say, is ULM for sure. That third year, my first year there.
Yeah. Who was the best player?
The best player, I would say, Georges Niang, the guy at Iowa State.
Yeah. Specific question for you as someone who grew up in Kosovo. What was your favorite American food?
Favorite Chipotle for sure.
I knew you were going to say that. That was
Everybody.
You always were. You were all about Chipotle.
It still is. Everybody knows that. Still is.
Do they have Chipotle in Kosovo?
No, we don't have that franchise here.
So whenever you come back to the U.S., is that the first stop?
Of course it is.
After Chipotle, what's number 2?
After Chipotle, I would say it's either like Texas Steakhouse, Texas Roadhouse, or Chick-fil-A. Between those two.
Okay. Last question for you. What made that Little Rock team so special?
I think first I would say the belief of the coaching staff on us, that we were really good. And then the second was like us, I would say, being happy for each other, because nobody had like a stellar year as far as stats, I would say. But everybody was happy for step up every game. Everybody was playing good in a game, and we were kind of fed up, and we were happy for each other success. So I think these two were so connected pretty much.
Okay. All right, Liz, man, you're a tough guy to pin down.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to invest in a publicist or something for you. Now you don't have an SID anymore, man. You're a tough guy to get the interview with, but I appreciate you making the time to chat today.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
I see you, Pat. Okay.